With the Heat searching for a new identity, have they lost respect around the NBA?
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, we're back with one more thing. I'm David Ramil. This is Wes Goldberg, and we're back with Locked On Heat, where we've got one more thing to talk about today because the Giannis news hasn't really changed much since our last episode. We're still going to be bringing you the latest coverage about that as always. But one of the things that we were talking about last week in regards to Giannis Antetokounmpo and his view of Miami, one of the reports, I can't recall exactly what it was. I want to say maybe it was Sam Amick of The Athletic, talked about Giannis Antetokounmpo and his respect for the Miami Heat. Of course, at that point, he was talking about Giannis's respect going back to 2020 after they had been eliminated. The Milwaukee Bucks had been eliminated by the Miami Heat in the Orlando bubble, and Giannis developed a great deal of respect for the Miami Heat because of their approach to the game, etc., that continued to evolve over the last couple seasons. And I started thinking about this process because, you know, we've heard a lot about players, teams, even other organizations respecting the Miami Heat. You know, we have Bill Simmons calling them the zombie Heat. They're the toughest, hardest working, et cetera, et cetera. We know about Heat culture, and everybody refers to Heat culture. This is a team that can kind of save you and get you to have this kind of work ethic and be able to develop you a little bit more fully. And yes, there is a genuine respect, or at least there was around the league. But as we kind of go into this third season now, as we're waiting for the news about Giannis Antetokounmpo and whether or not Miami's able to acquire this team, Wes, the more I kept thinking about it is over the last two seasons with Miami barely making any kind of noise in the playoffs. One year they got into the playoffs just to get swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers. This year they didn't make it at all. Are they in danger of losing their hard-earned reputation around the league as a team worthy of respect?
I don't think so. If you continue to miss the playoffs for multiple years, then yeah, that probably happens. But a one-off, I think everybody just gets that, right? Like you get the 1 year where you don't make the play, especially in the days of the play-in tournament and stuff like that. You look at these NBA front office rankings that, CBS, ESPN, The Athletic, they all kind of do them. The Heat are still very much near the top of that list. I mean, The Athletic did it in December, and the Heat were fourth. In NBA front office.
In the midst
rankings.
of their 7-game win streak at that point, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that
they
might
were
be
a team that.
Sure, but I don't how did they just get all these votes in the matter of 3 days? They probably were taking, they were probably polling these. They said they polled 36 NBA executives and asked for their top 5. And the Heat got a number of votes here to the point where they were ranked fourth. I just think that almost in a lazy way, executives, agents, players, coaches are always going to respect the Heat. Almost because it's we pay more attention to the Heat than anybody else does, and it's still just the Heat, right? They're gonna have that reputation for a very long time until they do something dramatic enough to the point where they are not gonna have that reputation anymore. But you talk to players around the league, and they still talk about Heat culture. And by the way, I don't know that the Heat work harder, they get the most out of you. When you go to Miami, you better be 0% body fat, all that stuff. That has not necessarily gone away. What has gone away over the last few years are the results. And the results obviously matter. I don't know that the process has been all that different. And if you're a player trying to maximize his career, I think you actually care more about that sometimes. Just be, hey, look, if I go to Miami, I just know they're going to get the best out of me. And that's the idea. And I think it has something to do with Miami. It also, and you know this, David, you kind of check under the hood of a lot of organizations in the NBA. And it's almost as if they're not in the same league as teams like the Miami Heat or the Spurs or the Warriors or the Thunder or the Celtics. These teams that are ran really well, there's a lot of really poorly run teams in the NBA. And those are the teams where players go and they're like, what is going on here? And the one thing players know is if they end up in Miami, it's going to be a professional organization that is going to hold you accountable. And there's a lot of players who do like that and want that.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you to an extent, though, because I do think that that also works as a detriment because there are some players, and Erik Spoelstra, and I love using this quote from Spo, we're not for everyone. He loves
100%.
saying it. He loves believing it. And the kind of self-knowledge of within this organization is like, we know that we're not a place that's going to appeal to everybody. There is a specific player to whom we will respond and will appreciate what it is that we bring to the table. And it's like you said, the ability to kind of help you extend your career, get the most out of you. And if you're young, maybe even an undrafted player, I think there is that firm belief that if you come to Miami and you're willing to put in the work, you're going to be able to turn that into the kind of career that Gabe Vincent has had or Duncan Robinson has had, where you're going to get paid your money because we're able to put in the work. Max Strus, another great example.
Can I just jump in really quick? Because that whole we're not for everybody thing.
Yeah.
People kind of like to make fun of that sometimes. Those are the good players.
Yeah.
The teams, the Heat are for the players who are the good players, right? I think the players that don't want to be held accountable, that don't like all this stuff, those are the players I don't want, right? Like, this isn't a matter of taste. Like, this isn't like being into blondes and knowing that there's a ton of cute brunettes out there, right? Like, these are just, hey, what the Heat are really saying is we want the good players who want to be great. Like, there's no debate over that, right? Those are the better players. The Heat want the better players. That's essentially what they're saying there.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that there's also, with personnel turnover the last couple of years, they're in danger of losing that kind of reputation to an extent. And just being the kind of organization that's known for being a ball busting, work you harder than ever, and kind of push you in a way that maybe a lot of adult men that are at the top of their game don't want to be pushed. That's not necessarily going to work towards them. Again, I get the perspective of why you want to appeal to the best players and the best players who will respond to that, the guys that are willing to do the work and be criticized and everything else like that. But I don't know. It's getting trickier and trickier. And I wonder if the personnel turnover the last couple of years has contributed and why their pursuit of a superstar makes it even more imperative that they get that superstar to maintain that reputation around the league. We'll talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final tick. Now FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. The World Cup is so exciting. I love Olympic play. I love the idea of nationalism tied into sports and athletics like this, and to see all the different countries rally and just watch the best soccer players out on the pitch, to watch them trying to form a goal. It could be 90 minutes of nothing, but in that last few seconds of a match, all of a sudden you score the goal and your country is sent spiraling into this incredible wave of joy. That's what makes World Cup soccer so exciting. And to have it here in North America, just a great opportunity for so many fans around the world to be able to watch, as they call it, the beautiful game. And now you can get in on that excitement too, from the opening whistle to the final kick. There be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. All right, we're back here on One More Thing, talking about the idea of the Miami Heat in danger of losing respect around the league. I think there's still an organizational viewpoint that's being held, and I think you were alluding to this before we went to break, about how players do view this team as from an organizational standpoint. They can get the most out of you. They're still hardworking, etc. But I still think that's in danger because, one of the things that we're seeing with this New York Knicks team that's 2 wins away from their, first NBA championship in 50 years is that they're never out of it. They're down 10 with 3 minutes left to go. Jalen Brunson will come back. And one of the things that we talked about last week was whether or not Miami has to build a team to match these New York Knicks, because they're playing at a really high level, and while they have the personnel, they have the talent, etc., their style of play reminds me a lot of what we used to see from Jimmy Butler and that iteration of the Miami Heat, where they were always in the game, no matter what. I love the fear in the Celtics fans' eyes as they weep their pasty faces on national television, knowing that even you had a 10-point lead at the Boston Garden, you knew that Jimmy Butler was going to come in there and steal your soul, and there was nothing you could do about it. And that was wonderful. Like, that was great. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of not just the respect around the league about being able to get the most out of your career and a very strong professional identity. I don't think that the Heat is in danger of losing that until Pat Riley and Erik Spoelstra are gone from the organization, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. But as far as their reputation on the court, I think that's gone. I don't think anybody is scared of Miami anymore. They don't have Jimmy Butler. They don't have Udonis Haslem. They don't have just either somebody like Haslem that kind of harkens to the past and championship success, or Jimmy Butler, who was just incapable of dying and would always find a way to beat you in the waning moments. And without those two players, without that kind of identity on the court, I just think it's so imperative for Miami. We're seeing them now go all in, and a lot of fans are torn about the idea of pursuing Giannis Antetokounmpo. But this is why you do it, because you're not winning. You're in danger of losing the respect that you've earned for years around the league, and you need to be able to enter in another era where you can be viewed as competitive, as a team that you don't want to face. I want the days of Miami being able to go to another opposing arena and fans and the team being scared of this version of the Miami Heat because they know they're going to get beat up. I want Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bam Adebayo to defend the hell out of everybody on the floor, where players are terrified of being able to go into the paint, of knowing that they're going to get punched, beat up, hit, abused, and they're not going to try to score points easily. Because right now, I don't think that this current version of the Heat team, if they don't pull off that trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, I just can't see what their identity on the court is, and I don't see why anybody would be in the least bit worried or scared about facing the Miami Heat.
So we're talking about maybe now two different things: the respect of the organization, the organizational respect around the league, versus being scared of the product on the court. Those are two different things. Yes. I don't think the organizational respect has gone anywhere. There is no question that nobody is scared of this Heat. Why would you? They missed the playoffs. What's there to be scared of? And just one point of correction on the Jimmy Butler stuff. I understand that the Jimmy Butler lore is what it is. He was never that guy since the NBA Finals in 2023. He wasn't very good in that final series, and then he wasn't available in the playoffs in the 2 years after that. So even at the end of the Jimmy Butler era, that went away. That didn't go away with the Jimmy Butler trade. That went away with Jimmy Butler injuries at the end of his career.
You want to hear? I know you love this. Great conspiracy theory here. Josh Hart hurting Jimmy Butler in that series against the New York Knicks that same year that they went to the finals in 23. The first step of the many dominoes to fall into a basket that laid to this point where Jimmy had to be traded, and that was the only way for the New York Knicks current iteration to be able to get to the NBA Finals. What do you think?
Essentially what you're saying there is that if Jimmy's not traded, then the Knicks are not going to the finals because Jimmy Butler is still healthy and the Heat are standing in their way. No, Jimmy Butler is getting old no matter what. That's still happening. Like, if that happens to Jimmy Butler 3 years before that, in 2020 as opposed to 2023, he recovers, right? It's just his body broke down at the end. And I know I'm the Jimmy Butler hater. That's not even a Jimmy Butler hater thing. That's just time and biology happening. But
I thought that was the ankle injury on the grassy knoll for you. I thought that you would say, you know what, that was their way of the very, very long
a chance
view.
At winning the finals that year. Yes. I won't, but it has nothing to do with the Knicks making the finals this year. But to your point, like, I remember having this conversation with you a couple of years ago about the Thunder. About, like, I think we did a whole podcast, like, if we could choose a roster in the NBA for Erik Spoelstra to coach, which one would he want to coach the most? And I said the Thunder, and this might have even been before they won the championship, maybe right after. But it was before, yeah. And it was just like, that's the team that gets into you, full court presses, defends their butts off, and all these things. And by the way, that's why I like this Knicks team. I like this Knicks team. I like watching this Knicks team. Sue me. I'm sorry, Heat fans. But if this is exactly the kind of team we used to root for here.
I can't with the jersey color. I don't want anything about the lure of the Mecca, Madison Square Garden.
I hear you, but if the Heat played like this, beautiful game on offense, competing their butts off on defense, wouldn't this be your favorite Heat team since the Big Three? No question. That's why I don't even want the Jimmy Butler years back. I don't want those 8th seed runs, zombie Heat. No. I don't want to punch up anymore. I want to go back to big 3 days where we were punching down. That was really scary. That was honest fear. That was when we walk into this building, we don't even want to be here. Like the Jimmy Butler was like, we don't want to be here in the fourth quarter. We don't want to be here when Jimmy Butler gets going. I don't want anybody to come to Miami, right? I want them to be fearful when they get on the plane because they know they're getting on the plane. They're making a trip to lose, right? Nobody felt that way about the Jimmy Butler year Heat because we were always a play-in tournament team, right? Yeah. And that's why I think that this summer is so important and why the Giannis trade is so important. When you have that level of star power, like a Giannis is, who again, playing at an MVP level 5 months ago. When you have that level of star power on your team, now you are on the road to being a top seed scary team. The Thunder are scary because they dominate in the regular season and the postseason. The Spurs are scary this year because they have Victor Wembanyama and they won 60 games. Not because they had Victor Wembanyama and were a play-in tournament team. Nobody's scared of play-in tournament teams. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, what's the guy that in the horror movies that always comes back from the dead? Jason, is it? Yes. Is it Jason? I don't want to be Jason. I just want to be Godzilla, man. Like I just want to be dominating.
Okay, because I was gonna say Jason Voorhees, he does lay down a trail of blood and guts everywhere he goes. So it's not like he's you got a walkover or anything like that. But yes, he is known for coming back. But give me the 200-foot tall monster from another world that could spew radiation from its mouth and nuclear fire that lays waste to everything. Sure,
that's what I want. I want that level of scary. That's what I don't want to do. Are they gonna rise from the dead? I just want this team. This team is just blowing the doors off of everybody all the time. I'd like
that. Ideally both, right? I think you're right about the Knicks team, and I hate admitting it, but I mean, give me a 50-something win team, 55 to 60 win team that also punishes you and makes things difficult for you as an opponent, and that's what this Heat team needs to get back to. Because you're absolutely right. Because the potential's there, man. Give me Davion Mitchell for 30 minutes. Give Andrew Wiggins, Bam. Pelle Larson. We talked about whether or not he's a player that Miami just can't afford to give up on a trade. And so many of the fans responded. And you made great points about it when you mentioned it on the show. Like, he just does so much for this group and the little things. And I throw your face into every skirmish, Pelle. Right. Just do whatever you can to piss everybody off. So they don't, oh man, I don't want to face that Swedish white boy. I just want to hear that every time he goes out on the court, And
to your point about the Knicks also, like, you can have it both ways, right? Where I think what people liked about the Jimmy Butler years was, the Heat are proving the regular season doesn't matter, which is false. But there was that narrative out there. But they saved their best basketball for the postseason. That's what people really liked about that team. They saved it for the games that matter. The Knicks won 50+ games and are still playing their best basketball in the playoffs. Yeah. You can do it both ways. Your floor doesn't have to be that low, is my point. You could just be a regular playoff team. And I will remind people, for all of the great fun that we had during the Jimmy Butler years, 0 championships. We didn't win a single one. 2 finals appearances, 0 championships. It's really freaking hard to win a title. And you don't need to make it harder by having to play a week in the play-in tournament and deal with potentially not even making the playoffs altogether. And a top 4 seed in the NBA doesn't win the championship. If you're not a top 4 seed, you don't win the championship in NBA history. You don't win it. You have to be a top 4 seed. That's all we're asking. You don't have to be dominant number 1 seed every single year. That's too much to ask. But if you could be a top 4 seed year in and year out, and then also play your best basketball in the playoffs, that's the formula. And that's scary, and that deserves your respect.
Absolutely. And that's why they've got to go out and get Giannis Antetokounmpo this.
I'm glad you've come around to this.
I have to. Look, I am equally terrified, but at the same time, I do recognize that he's going to raise the ceiling for this team very considerably. And I'm partially resistant to change anyway, just because I kind of just love the guys in the locker room, and I love being able to talk to them and just see, you get a kinship with the guys in the locker room. But you know what? You hope that they're going to mesh into something. That's not realistic. They're just not. They're not. This is a team that's not capable of winning on a high level, and you ultimately need to break a few eggs if you want to get that omelet. And I think that omelet of championship success only comes by getting a superstar.
Giannis likes omelets.
He might be that guy. Yeah. So you know what? Go get yourself a Giannis Antetokounmpo and maybe even another aging superstar out in Los Angeles. We'll talk about that in an upcoming episode and keep you up to date on all the latest Giannis Antetokounmpo news and updates. But of course, that'll do it for now. Let us know in the comments if you're worried about the Heat losing respect around the league and what they might need to do. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe as we continue to provide great content throughout this offseason. This is David Ramil. That's Wes Goldberg, and we're checking out here on Locked On Heat.